Welcome back to another episode of
the Indoorfins Sports Podcast.
Podcast. I'm Tuesday.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Look here, Rex Grossman.
Ethan.
You have to have a shirt on.
I'm Ethan. Sorry.
Not actually.
They don't know that.
They do not know whether or not you have a shirt on, but I do.
Oh, don't ruin the illusion.
It's okay, y'all. Ethan is wearing a shirt. It is not a Rex Grossman jersey. Thank you all for being so patient. Welcome back to another edition of the Indoorfins. If you like what you hear, please leave a like on the YouTube page. Please subscribe for more content. We are also available to follow on Twitter and Instagram, along with our main Facebook page.
Indeed.
And enough shameless promotion today in sports news. I'll say I'm upset because Manchester City didn't even manage to score a goal today. Manchester City and Liverpool drew 0-0. It was actually the most boring game of this weekend. So no, seriously, it was supposed to be the big Titanic top two, best competitors for this title this season. And the first 45 minutes, I was like, nobody even had a shot on target. Why am I watching this? Like, I actually got up early, spent all the time, watching all the other games, hyped up to get to this point in my morning. I was like, 11:30, NBCSN, I'm ready, Premier League football, it's going to be Sane, it's going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold, it's Klopp versus Pep, let's do this. I was dead asleep after 45 minutes. I woke myself back up, and I was like, this is going to be pretty boring. It was the worst game. It was the worst game of the weekend. And as a City fan, I don't want to say this out loud, but I'm going to. The most dramatic and most interesting thing that happened in the Premier League this weekend, Manchester United actually won a game. Pretty dramatically, but actually won a game. And Jose Mourinho still has his job. We will cover all that. That's where I'm at this weekend.
And this weekend, it's a tough weekend. But today, we're going to be covering a recap of Week 4 scores in the NFL starting off. It's a good day, and it has been a good day for the past 4 weeks if you're a Kansas City or a Los Angeles Rams fan, because you have yet to lose a game.
Got a 0 in that loss column.
Yep. More so for the Rams, because you have faced exactly one challenge so far, and then Minnesota Vikings. The Chargers almost came to that if their punter hadn't apparently taken too long, according to their coach, who kind of threw him under the bus a little bit.
That's what you do when you try to over-explain why you're such a bad coach.
Well, if any team is allowed to throw their special teams under the bus, it's the San Diego Chargers.
We'll give the Chargers that excuse just because Green Bay may or may not be an anomaly today.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. We just finished almost finished the first round of games for Week 5 today. Few surprises. Kansas City steamrolling still
undefeated.
But Week 4, the Rams did beat the Vikings, as I said, 38-31. The Texans, in overtime, beat the Colts 37-34.
Which I can't say is surprising because it's the frickin' Colts.
But the Colts did come back from an 18-point deficit to tie the game in that game.
How many times are you going to get my hopes up just to let me down?
Yep. And scored in overtime only to be defeated.
It's just reminiscent of 2006. Yeah. It's just, they got that far and failed.
Yep. The Packers beat the Bills 22-0, which seems like an innocuous score, except when you dig a little deeper and see the highlights, and you see Aaron Rodgers looking over at Coach McCarthy at various points in the game and appearing to be very angry at him at multiple points in the game with the play calling. And after the game, calling him out and calling the coaching staff out for various misunderstandings in the play calling during the game. So we'll get back to that. and maybe a little bit of residual effects coming in this week against the Lions. The Buccaneers just got torched last week and ended Fitzmagic, and Jameis Winston is effectively the starter moving forward throughout the season. For all intents and purposes, they got beat by the Bears 48-10.
That's not.
Mitch Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns, and Dirk Cutter said that he and his whole team should be fired for how they handled themselves.
What? No, you have to break that one down. What? Break that one down for me.
Well,
why are we firing everybody?
Well, he was basically just saying that they got beat on all phases of the game so badly
so bad they don't deserve to be professionals anymore.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, you know what?
The Bears handled them in every single way. They looked like the 2006 Bears, basically.
Ouch. Hey.
Except Mitch Trubisky was better than Rex Grossman.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And their entire defense was better than the 2000s.
Well,
exactly.
It's getting there. Khalil Mack is kind of looking a bit like Brian Urlacher in some ways. And he's in the Hall of Fame now. So
that is true.
The Patriots beat the tails off the Dolphins 38-7, and the Dolphins are they were in first place in the division until this week when they lost to the Bengals.
They lost to the Bengals
this week, just now. I'll get to that score.
Okay.
The Cowboys beat the Lions on a last-second field goal, 26-24. The Bengals beat the Falcons on a last-second touchdown, 37-36. And the Bengals are kind of the surprise team of this year.
But the Bengals are always a surprise team until they get to the playoffs. The Bengals have a history of just being good, getting to the playoffs.
Considering the Bengals went I can't remember. Did the Bengals make it to the playoffs last year?
No, I do. I watched last year.
Oh, you know what? They did. They did make it to the wild card. That was the game where they got suspended for the hits on Antonio Brown. That's right. I forgot about that. The Jaguars beat the Jets 31-12. The Titans beat the Eagles, which is probably the most surprising, in overtime, 26-23, on a last-second touchdown pass.
Man, what is going on?
After the Titans converted 2 or 3 fourth downs in overtime, the Browns, just want to skip that game. The Browns,
we don't hate the Browns. Before we get into this.
I'm not going to say that.
And neither of us legitimately hates the Browns. Like, it's just so frustrating to watch this franchise.
I will say, I was going to say I'm not one to disagree with the refs, but I am exactly one to disagree with the refs. But in this particular game, they hosed the Browns very badly in a few calls. And the official and even the booth official that's there with the announcers agreed that on the crucial call late in the fourth quarter with over a minute to go, where the Browns got what they thought was a first down and they were just going to drain the clock out and take a few knees, they went to replay and overturned the first down call on what the referee in the booth said was questionable evidence. What needed to be clear and concise video, they didn't think they had.
And we've already established that when you have video evidence and it is quote-unquote inconclusive, you must stick with the call on the field.
Yeah. And so the Browns were upset. They had to punt the ball away on 4th and inches.
And that cost them.
And the Raiders marched down the field and tied the game and sent it to overtime where they won. Now, of course, everybody can say, well, why didn't you just stop
run the ball on 4th and inches?
Well, that also could have been done. They could have just jumped over the line in a quarterback sneak, but the ball was on their own 25-yard line.
See, that's a good reason to not go 4th and inches at the end of the game. Let's be real with
But there was another call earlier in the fourth quarter where the ball was knocked out of the Raiders' Derek Carr's hand from behind while he was in the pocket. But before he was even wrapped up, the ball was knocked out. But right as the ball was knocked out, the whistle was blown for him to be in the grass.
Wow.
And
that's just awful
the
officiating.
Browns recovered the ball, but the play was blown dead before he was even taken to the ground.
So what hang on, did they just call that like an inadvertent whistle and then they just
they said he was in the grass.
Like a whole thing. What?
Yes. They literally said he was wrapped up before somebody even got his arm around him.
That's not even. I'm sorry. So I know that I don't watch
this
game.
They actually came out 2 days later and said they got that play wrong.
That's a completely wrong call. Like again, like I haven't watched this game like regularly in a long time, but even I remember like if you are in possession of the ball and you're standing up, you're a part of the play. You can't blow the whistle when you're standing. You only blow the whistle when somebody's standing up like that. Once he's got like 5 guys grabbing him and he's like surrounded and he can't actually literally move forward. That's when they just call it like forward progress when you get wrapped up and just shove backwards that way. Or for this particular instance, he's got to hit the ground. If the ball's coming out, you have to wait for somebody to actually hit the ground. Your face just lit up like it's Christmas. Ethan's over here staring at his phone screen. What just happened?
All right, so I said I wasn't going to talk about today's games yet.
Live update.
But a live update.
Live update. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, East Coast. Let's do this.
I mentioned something earlier off the podcast the Tuesday about how the Browns have made it to 3 overtime games in their first 5 games. The first against the Steelers, which ended in a tie. The second against the Raiders, which we just talked about, which ended in their losing 45-42, which was Baker Mayfield's first start. And the third, just today, which was against the Ravens in a 9-9 tie. And it just ended with the Browns winning 12-9 in overtime.
The Browns won a second game this season.
The Browns have won a second game for the first time since before 2016.
Okay, so I'm not big on giving out individual awards, but let's just give a round of applause here to the entire Browns organization.
They can drink a second beer.
Congratulations. This season, you do not have to say that you did not win more than one game.
Yep.
Y'all got more than one game. Y'all can have the last pick. Y'all get to say y'all won more than one game. This is a cause for celebration. I don't care what anybody's got to say. I don't care that the Indians are out there, getting their butts kicked. I don't care that LeBron's already left. The Browns won 2 whole games this season. Round of applause. Drinks on everybody. Let's have some fun. Cleveland, turn up.
Yep.
I'm actually legitimately happy for them. I'm legitimately happy for them.
You want to know how close they were to a second tie?
How much time was left on the clock when they made that play?
Guess.
For everybody who's already seen it, they're like, what are y'all doing?
We haven't seen it. We were down here in the
we usually just
dark depths
keep
of
track.
a basement recording studio.
We just keep track of stuff by Gamecast and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? 4 seconds.
Close.
I thought that was way too little.
6 seconds.
Oh my goodness. And they scored a field goal?
37-yard field goal to win it.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least they don't have Mason Crosby on their roster today.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's amazing.
Okay, so Mason Crosby is only 34. That is a lot of gray hair for a 34-year-old man. But anyway, there are already reports out right now that say the odds released for Packers to cut Mason Crosby after his missed field goals today.
How many misses did he have today?
3.
3 misses.
He has those 3 misses, yeah.
Okay.
And
I thought he also had the missed extra point.
He did have a missed extra point.
So 4 technically.
So 4 kicks,
4
3
kicks
field goals,
missed
and then
today. Yeah.
I mean the extra point just got moved so far back. It still counts as only a point, but it's just as important, particularly now. Apparently it is minus 200 at him keeping his job, plus 150 that he will be cut before week 6.
Wow.
Now, I don't know a whole lot about Vegas odds, but I tell you what, if I can bet $100 and win $150 that he gets cut, anybody want to give me $100? I'll take those odds. I will take those odds because it's the NFL. How many times have we heard of kickers having really awful days and then they just don't make it? How many times have we seen a kicker miss a clutch field goal in postseason and then they're not a part of that team anymore? Like, being a kicker is a bit of a pressure cooker in the NFL. And remember that dude on remember the commentator was like, as a football player, you just have to go in and go to the next play and forget about it and this, that, and the other. And I was like, as a kicker, you don't have that option, because the last play that you made, you missed. And then the last play before that, you missed. And then the last play before that, maybe you kicked it off or whatever. Like, you just get to whack it. It's not that big a deal. Like, everything that a kicker does completely and 100% affects what happens in the next part of the game. Like, that's a pressure-filled spot. As an outside linebacker, yeah, you might miss the tackle, but then the next, like, 3 plays are going to be deep passes where, so long you're sitting in your zone, it's up to the corner and the safety to do their job. Like, you don't have the luxury of saying this play might not count for me. This play, I get to just make whatever decision and it'll be better for the benefit of the team next time. No, like, if you're a kicker, everything that you do is magnified, because everything that you do has a consequence on how the game is going to end. So yeah, Mace Crosby, you know what? I don't have enough money to pay your bills, but I can tell you that I have never tried to kick a football like that before, and I couldn't do it. So hats off to you. Ethan, you might want to get warmed up, because Green Bay is going to be looking for a kicker soon.
Well, you know what? I have told exactly, 2 NFL players knew I would kick. Dallas Clark and Pat McAfee.
Who are both
retired.
Indianapolis Colts alumni. Dallas Clark was tight end, Super Bowl winner. And then Pat McAfee, punter. Went to a Super Bowl. Poor Pat. For the record, Pat McAfee, if you ever hear this, I love you, dude. I'd love to have you on the show. I would love to interview you about what it's like to be in the NFL. Moving on with my life. Pat McAfee just seems like a really just hometown kind of down to earth. I'm not really worried about being famous. I'm more worried about making my friends laugh type person, and I can get down with that. Pat McAfee just seems like he's great. And for the record, for anybody who doesn't know, Pat McAfee does do a lot of work here in town. He is consistently holding different types of comedy events. He does a lot of stand-up comedy, and he hosts a lot of different comedy events where he's donated money to a lot of different good causes here in Indianapolis and around the United States. So shout out to Pat McAfee. We're in number 1, being the second best punter I've ever seen in my life. No, that guy that did that drop kick. What was his name?
Michael Smith? Jenkins?
No. The one so again, off air, we were talking about drop kicks in football, because we were talking about Doug Flutie doing it as a quarterback after we watched the Seattle punter do it. And is it Michael Patterson? Is that what it is? Dang. I'm so awful with names. I had this article pulled up in front of me and everything, and I was so ready to get into the fact that we need to bring the drop kick back. That's where I'm at in life. Yeah, it's Michael Dixon, not Patterson. Michael Dixon. But there's a Deadspin article about him doing the drop kicks and how he, not just how he trained, but just the history of it never really happening in the NFL. And I saw the gif of this. I saw this dude literally, this sounds dumb, but I watched the guy drop the ball and kick it, okay? And a football, this is oblong. This dude drops it on the nose. It bounces off of the ground, and then just like an amazingly technically gifted footballer, he lets it hit the ground, it bounces up, and then he just launches it. I've never actually seen an American footballer. I've never seen somebody do that in the NFL. Never seen a drop kick before. I don't know where I was when Doug Flutie did that, but I was not old enough to remember that. So to see somebody do that in the NFL today, I'm sorry, just as a fan of sports and technicality and skill, that's up there with Odell Beckham's 3-finger catch. That is amazing to me. So Michael Dixon, punters. Yes, I'm very interested in punters.
And just real quick to wrap up the scores from Week 4, Seattle beat Arizona 20-17. New Orleans beat the Giants 33-18. The Chargers beat San Francisco 29-27. Monday Night Football, or Sunday Night Football, the Ravens beat the Steelers 26-14. And the Chiefs beat the Broncos 27-23 in a comeback win. The Kansas City, Los Angeles undefeated. Cincinnati still leading the AFC North over the Ravens, Steelers, and Browns. Yeah, I think that's like if Cincinnati were to win their division, they would have a home playoff game in Cincinnati, which they in their game they had to go to Pittsburgh to play them in the wild card. So I think that might at least be the difference there. But they are a different team from the team that lost to New York all those years ago when they had Mark Sanchez. So if they can compose themselves and not get, they already got somebody ejected earlier this year against the Colts. So compose themselves more.
Keep themselves composed this time.
And not get suspensions and all them because Vontaze Burfict is coming back.
So actually, sorry, stat correction. Mason Crosby missed 13 points from 5 kicks. He missed 4 field goals and an extra point. 13 possible points, right?
Yep.
And Packers lost by 8.
Yeah.
Mason Crosby's probably gonna get fired. He's probably gonna
I know. Look, the Browns cut their kicker after he missed 2 field goals and 2 extra points against the Saints in a game where they lost by 3. The Vikings cut their kicker after a game where he missed 2 field goals that would have won them the game in overtime. And yeah, it's a tough league out there for kickers. Like if you miss more than 1 field goal, you are more than likely safe unless those kicks directly contribute to the game losing.
Right. That's exactly what I was just saying.
If you miss 2 but then make the game winner,
then you're fine.
You're safe.
You're golden. It's
Lawrence Tynes is a perfect example.
Ooh, yeah.
In the NFC Championship in 2007, he got the Giants to the Super Bowl.
Pretty much.
He missed 2 kicks in regulation, but in overtime, he made a 47-yarder in Green Bay to kick the Giants to the Super Bowl.
Right.
That got them to win against the undefeated New England Patriots.
So you know how they say when you win, nobody remembers your mistakes?
Yeah.
Well, when you're the loser, your mistakes get magnified.
Exactly.
And that's a perfect example of why it's like a crapshoot to be a kicker. Because for Mason Crosby, guess what? If he makes 2 of those and the Packers, even if he makes 2 of those and they go to overtime and they lose, we're not talking about making Crosby.
Exactly.
We're talking about how he could have ended the game, but we're talking about the other mistakes that the team made that led to them not winning in overtime. Yeah. But since they didn't even make it that far, and since he put up so many bad kicks and lost so many points that we can look at him solely and be like, well, that's probably why you lost.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
So
unfortunately for him, he did not make a single kick today. So again, you said the Browns are in the market? Well, they might be in the market.
Well, their kicker missed a long kick, but their kicker made the game-winning one in overtime.
That's right. You made the game winner. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like people will rewrite history to remember what they want to remember about you. And when you bring a win, when you bring a championship, when you bring whatever it is, they're going to be 10 times more likely to remember what you actually did for them. But let somebody fall horribly and just let you just completely bomb and everything goes wrong. If we can point to you, hey man, we need a scapegoat, and the kicker is way less important to the team than the quarterback, the coach, offensive line, because there's 1,000,001 different things that you can point at in every single game. But kicker's easy. He's out there for 6 plays. He is not even really required to hit anybody, and messed up. Being a kicker is all about mental toughness. And I'm not saying that Mason Crosby does not have mental toughness. I'm saying today he did not have it. And that, unfortunately, for one day worth of work, that might cost you. We can look at Mason Crosby's body of work and be like, dude, this dude's amazing. But if you cost me 15 points on one day, that's if I go to work. That's if I go to work, right? Let's say I work retail. Let's say I work in front of a cash register, right? I have 100 customers every single day. And 15 of them come in and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but no, didn't like you, didn't like your attitude, the way you were dressed, this, that, and the other. You know, if 15 people show up to my job and say, I don't like this person, I have to at least get called into the office and be like, look, I know that you've been doing decent. I know a lot of people come in, you know, you got making money, this, that, and the other. But there's a particular subset of people who come in here every single day, important people who come in here every single day. These are important customers, and they are not satisfied with what you have done today. Like, these are people that we need every single day to come in, and you dissatisfied all of them all at once today. That's a tough situation to be in, because otherwise, because you have two options. You say, A, you have next week for let's reapply this to Mason Crosby. You have next week. You have one day. You get one game. If you, whatever opportunities you get, because he's a kicker, whatever opportunities you get, you have to take, or you're done. That's what's going to happen. Because if they don't say that to him, then we're looking at it tomorrow and we're going to be like, okay, cool. So who's out there on the kicker waiver wire? Like, who can we add to this team? Because he's not going to have his job. You can't dissatisfy the big accounts. You can't dissatisfy the people at the very top, you know? And for Mason Crosby to have inadvertently, but for him to have cost his team the game pretty much single-handedly. Yes, we can look at all the different mistakes that Green Bay made on defense, the plays that they didn't make on offense. We can talk about all of that and talk about how they lost the game. But when you come down to it, when you're given all those opportunities and you don't make it, it's game over. It's not gonna work. Yeah. You don't get those kind of second opportunities. You just don't. Not in the workplace, not like that. You can't mess up that big.
Well, speaking of missed opportunities, we're going to go ahead and move on to the MLB.
To the baseball. The guy with the bat and the guy with the ball in the playoffs. Amigos. And the Cubs are not a part of the playoffs.
Go Cubs, go. Hey, Chicago, what do you say?
You're Looks like we're going to fish all today. Weekend.
Oh. That's not where I was going with that, but okay.
Wait, what did you say?
I said, looks like you're not going to play today.
No, we are not.
Because, it rhymed a little bit.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So everybody who is officially a part of the Cubs roster has been giving their gone fishing notice for the winter.
It's okay.
Moving on.
My Giants weren't even close. So
I disagree with one game. I disagree with one game playoffs in baseball, but it is what it is. You know, I've always told people I've watched my team win a championship. I watched the Cubs win a championship in my lifetime. That's all I ever wanted as a fan. I'm dead serious. We can go back to 100 lost seasons. We can go back to Rizzo trying to fight the entire Reds bullpen. We can go back to Carlos Zambrano hitting a home run being the pinnacle of our day. I've never been in it. I've never been a sports fan for I've never been a sports fan so that I could support somebody who was like the Yankees or support somebody who was like Manchester United. Unfortunately, as a City fan, 2 years later, 2 years after I got into the game, my team got taken over. Next thing you know, we are a part of the evil empire. But I didn't get into sports to I got into sports so I could have a bit of a roller coaster, so I could have ups and downs and, wins and losses and disappointments and not so disappointments. And yeah, I guess as a professional athlete, I figure I guess they can say, yeah, it's disappointing to not win a championship. But for me as a fan, to be able to say my team made it to the wild card, my team put it in all season, fought hard all season through injuries, through the hard, long day games, through all those trips that they have to make throughout the season to get this far. You know what? I'd say I wouldn't want to put all my hard work and pin it all on one game, but overall, I can't say we had a bad season. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say the same thing that I always say as a Cubs fan, and I'm going to continue to say it to the day I die. There's always next year. As a Cubs fan, there's always next year. Whether we've got a loaded roster or you brought back Anthony Rizzo and a bunch of broken arms. Like, for Cubs fans, this season is always our season. Next year is always our year. Like, we'll see them next year. We'll see everybody next year. I'm not going to root for Milwaukee, though.
All right.
I'm not going to root for Milwaukee. You know what? Actually, you said Cleveland's up 2-0 too, right?
Down.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're down to the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
I still don't like that. I still really wish they'd have set it up so that the Astros and the Indians could have been the American League Championship Series, just because those are two major teams. You got the world champion. You got the team that obviously was standing in the way of the Cubs 2 years ago. Some of the best pitching. Yeah, I guess I'll go for Houston. Maybe.
Well, supposed to be unbiased.
But
Well, yeah, my team's out as well. You always like a good story. Cleveland obviously hasn't won since the 40s.
yeah, and there's also the fact that they can't, just pin their hopes on LeBron James anymore. You kind of have to. I mean, I'm not. Okay, Ooh, that sounds really bad. So let me kind of explain that for a second.
No, I think they understand. They had a superstar of unmatched caliber in their midst. They won a championship with them, which they hadn't won in years.
He's just almost an automatic qualifier for championships, damn near.
But the Cleveland Indians were able to make it to the World Series, 2016. So the fact that they've consistently managed to stay in the playoffs for the past 2 years is a bit of a testament to them having a little staying power, and also the AL Central is garbage. So maybe they could pull themselves out of this hole. Maybe
they can.
Maybe Jose Altuve and the rest of the Houston Astros are just too powerful. But the real question is Boston or New York? Who's going to win?
You know what? I know I said I don't like rooting for evil empires. I definitely don't have a dog in this fight. But what did I just saw something that just made me laugh my butt off.
And do you think there's going to be another brawl? Because there was a little bit of tension last night.
Of course. No.
When the Yankees won.
That's like a given with the Yankees versus the Red Sox. Somebody has to get upset. Somebody's got to get a pitch thrown at them. It's going to be great. And it's going to happen tonight. Because I just saw this.
Well, not tonight, obviously.
Alex Cora reacts to Yankees Aaron Judge blasting New York, New York. Frank Sinatra's New York, New York in the bowels of Fenway Park after last night's game. Aaron Judge, you cannot go to Fenway and say that this is New York territory. Nope, they will throw baked beans at you until you are all the way back on your subway.
So, the next game is going to be in New York. So do you think a Boston pitcher is going to risk throwing at him in New York City?
I would actually. You know what? Aaron Judge is so hard to actually get him to strike out or get him to hit something that's not going to get him on base.
Well, he has hit home runs in both games.
That's why I'm like.
Yeah. So you think they would hit him?
I think. Here's how I would. Now, I'm awful, and this is complicated. I am awful, and this is complicated, but this is how I would do it. I would wait until there is... This is a very specific situation, by the way. I would wait until I would wait until the third of the game. So, innings 7, 8, and 9. I would wait until the last third innings. I would wait for Aaron Judge to come up. And if there is at least a single out, and there is a base open, I don't care which base it is. If there is a base that doesn't have anybody on it, and Aaron Judge comes up, I am hitting him instead of intentionally walking him. He gets his base, and I am giving him his base. But I am making sure that he knows that although he may be a dangerous hitter, I am not giving him this base because I am afraid of him. I am giving this base to him because it is a gift. Now, would that go over well? No. I'd probably get ejected from the game, but that's how I would send that message across. But
That's
also by waiting until the third part of the game, has he already plunked us for a couple of RBIs? Does he already come through himself a couple times? Like, if he's already done the damage, there's no point in doing it that way. So it's kind of a column A, column B. It's like, I would rather play the game and get it and take him out with my own skill first rather than just hit him.
So if he did hit a home run earlier, wouldn't that be more of a reason?
That is more of a reason to plunk him. Yeah.
That's what they do to Manny Machado and all those other.
But see, that's the thing. If somebody gets the hit off you and then you plunk them, you can't even feign like it was a control problem. Like, we all know that you hit him because he hit a home run off.
Well, obviously, because the thing you would say is because of what he did in Fenway.
And there's also the fact that you do just. I understand that there are moments where it's like antagonizing your opponent is a good deal. Like, trolling your opponent, like getting into their head is a good deal. But playing New York inside of Fenway Park, that to me is a little over. That's like when somebody tried to bury Babe Ruth's jersey when they were rebuilding. They were trying to, they put an old, I think if I remember the story correctly, when they were rebuilding Yankee Stadium, somebody found a Babe Ruth Boston jersey and tried to stick it inside of the construction work. Like, while they were still doing the foundations and everything, like, somebody tried to build his jersey into the new Yankee Stadium. Like, it's like that level almost to play New York in Boston. Like, I will make that comparison. That is, That doesn't say to me this is in the spirit of the game. This is I'm mocking you. This is I don't like you. This is I don't like anything that you stand for. And this place that you hold so dear to you means nothing. You can't play New York in Boston. This is the biggest rivalry in baseball. It's one of the biggest rivalries in American sports. Don't poke that bear.
The Brewers are up 1-0 in the bottom of the second right now.
Can't root for the Brewers. They're in the same division.
Dodgers and the Braves play later tonight. The Dodgers are up 2-0.
I will pick the Dodgers. I have reasons for not picking the Braves.
Yeah, same.
Can't.
Dodgers, as showed Clayton Kershaw's angry compilation.
I've seen like one of those, but I didn't realize Clayton Kershaw had started to like gather this reputation as the guy who will argue with balls and strikes. Like, I've seen him get mad, but I didn't realize that was like his whole deal.
Yeah, did a pirouette on the mound.
You can't jump, do a whole 360.
That was amazing.
No, the best one was when he throws it into his own bullpen.
After throwing the ball into the ground and bouncing back up into his hand.
And then he immediately just rockets it. Like, that was a fastball. Rockets it into his own bullpen. And then
asks for it.
Immediately holds up his glove like,
ball,
give me
ball,
that.
Ball.
Ball. And even the umpire was just like, I can't. That's his bullpen. Like, I can't. There's nothing I can do. There's no rules. Is there a rule for this?
So... yeah. Kershaw and Weaver. There was this. I know Weaver, I thought played for the Angels. I don't think he plays for the Dodgers. There was this incident. You know how pitchers, batters have a time thing where they can put up their hand and ask for time while they're in the box or something getting ready. There was this one batter, I can't remember his name, but he was against Weaver, and he just was taking a lot of time getting ready in the box, and Weaver was just getting really frustrated.
And go for it. I know where you're going.
And Weaver was just like doing this, and the guy was like, "What?" And Weaver, like, you could see Weaver mouth like the.
What are you doing?
The F.
You don't need to take a shower over there.
Dude just like looked at him like, I'm getting ready, and then the ump like held out his hand for time, and then he held out his hand for time as well, but like really emphatically at Weaver. He was like, hold it, like he was like directing traffic or something, and then like slunched his back and like bent his legs or stuff and like started waving his bat. And while he was doing it, he still held out his hand, and then he pulled his hand back on his bat. And Weaver just like
immediately
hit him, and then the ump threw him out.
Yeah, I remember that story.
And Weaver just didn't even fight. He just like walked off.
I mean, the whole time, I mean, honestly, as a professional baseball pitcher, I would have sat there and been like, this dude's trying to take a shower. This dude's eating lunch, kissing his wife and kids goodbye. Like, dang, dude, I didn't know you brought your whole family to the office, bro. Like. Yep. And then but that's where it gets them though. That arrogant part where you're back in the box, where you're halfway getting ready, but you're still telling him no, I'm not ready. Yeah. That was the part where Weaver was like, "You petty, bro, too petty."
And the catcher, I think, kind of knew because he was slowly sliding towards them.
I would have just like started creeping away. I'd be like, dude, he's totally gonna plunk you.
But I remember that because I saw the Boston Yankees game, and the Boston pitcher was getting upset at the Yankees guy, and that was the moment of tension that started up against them because the Boston pitcher was yelling at the Yankees guy to get in the box, and he was like...
Because now that the emphasis has been put on the timing, and, everyone's been looking at baseball and saying, we got to work on this pacing. I mean... As a pitcher, I think it's frustrating just because they're trying to figure out how to work faster, and that's how they're going to get into the rhythms faster now, and now this is the way that you're going to distract pitchers now. Instead of actually jumping up and being ready and waiting for the umpire to make the time call. Now, as the hitter, if you want to throw the pitcher off their game, you're going to have to start taking extra timeouts. You're going to have to take your time getting up, anything to get those extra seconds back. Because now pitchers are going to be used to going every 15, 20. They're going to be used to pitching, getting it back, pitching, getting it back, pitching. Like, since they've made strides in making the game faster, now hitters are going to have to learn to get their timing back or to throw the pitcher off by taking as much time as possible. That's why I appreciate that example that you gave us. I'm Weaver in that situation. I can't even lie. I'd just be like...
Yeah.
Throw me if you want. Seriously, he would have gotten the box and I'd be like, all right, so this one's coming right at you. Do the whole thing. Yeah. I don't know how pitchers are. I'm not good. I was never a good pitcher.
Speaking of timing, I think that's about all I have for the MLB. So moving on, soccer.
I don't want to talk about Jose.
Okay. All right. Well, we don't have to talk about that. We can just move on from him. I can mention him briefly because I know a little bit about the situation.
I got you. Here, we can break down Jose Mourinho. No, I was messing with you. We can break down Jose Mourinho.
As long as it can fit into a span of 5 minutes.
Okay. No. Right. Yeah. First, though, real quick, shout out to Lionel Messi. Everybody always wants to talk about how he cannot do this in England. Everybody always talks about how if he were to come over to the Premier League, it would not work. That boy against Tottenham this week, Barcelona 4, Tottenham 2. Messi,
nice.
2 goals, hit the bar twice. Every time he touched the ball, you were like, magic. Like, every time he touched the ball, everybody was nervous. Every time he touched the ball, everybody was like, okay, what's going to happen? Messi had, honestly, one of the most phenomenal nights I've ever seen him have. Now, I don't even get to see this man in person, okay? I have to watch him on screen on a usual basis. Rio Ferdinand, after the game, was like, I'm going to tell my kids about this tomorrow morning on the way to school. Rio Ferdinand, legendary defender for Manchester United. I've never seen anybody like that in my entire life. So before I jumped into that, I had like 4 hat tricks, and also had like 4 hat tricks this week. Paulo Dybala, Neymar, darn, I don't remember them off the top of my head. I feel so bad. Eden Dzeko and somebody else. I feel so bad. We'll get into that. Champions League, everybody keep tuning in. The best in the world, playing against the best in the world. But yeah, to break down Jose Mourinho and everything that's happening at Manchester United, it is is all kicking off. Apparently, so Paul Pogba he was captain, stripped of the captaincy in front of the entire team. Like it came out. Yeah, it came out, and they did that in a team meeting in front of everybody on the team. They were like, Paul Pogba's never going to be captain again. Antonio Valencia apparently.
So what was the exact reasons for that though? Like.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay.
Antonio Valencia apparently also got reprimanded because he's also usually in the conversation for who's going to be captain for the week. Valencia got in trouble for liking a post on Instagram that called for Jose Mourinho to be fired, which is nitpicking. You might have accidentally liked a post on Instagram. I can't tell you how many times I accidentally go to just scroll and I hit something and I actually like it, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I liked it now. Like they get my attention. Like it is what it is. But Manchester United is just. It's a strange situation. That's right. I wanted to tell you about the hierarchy. So most people have the ownership, the board, the directors, all that kind of stuff. You have a technical director, and then you have a manager. So the job of the technical director is to recruit talent in all shapes and forms. I'm talking about for the board, for front office, scouts, medical, players, coaches, all of that. So when Manchester United 10 years ago, even, it was still Sir Alex Ferguson in charge of everything. Not only was he was basically the manager and the technical director, okay? So he's got his own coaches. He's getting all of the players that he wants. And since he's Sir Alex Ferguson, you can't really say no to Manchester United when Sir Alex Ferguson comes knocking for you.
He's a knight.
Yes. No, literally, Sir Alex Ferguson. That man has done so much for football, particularly Scottish and British football over the past 20 years. He started off at Aberdeen and they're the only Scottish team that's not Celtic or Rangers to have a European trophy. I believe they took out Real Madrid on the way to that trophy, if I remember correctly. He comes over to Manchester United, completely revolutionizes the way that they play football. But to get to the point, there's no such post right now at Manchester United as a technical director. So there's nobody recruiting players. There's nobody recruiting talent. There's nobody recruiting coaches, fitness, any of that. So the staff isn't improving, and the team's not getting any better. So Jose Mourinho is having issues with the board and management and the ownership because he can't get the players that he wants. He doesn't, he's not getting the right development out of the youth academy for the players that he's trying to bring up, because he's had Scott McTominay playing as a central defender. And I'm sorry, I like Scott McTominay, but he looks so out of place as a defender. Honestly, if I saw that, if I saw him standing on the back line as an attacker, I'd be like, today we are going to eat. Today we're getting goals. It's the way that everything is being run down there. It's the way that Gary Neville put it. He said the tail is wagging the dog. The dressing room is dictating what's happening at Manchester United as a club, and I can't disagree with him. When the dressing room is in all sports, the actual players are a small part of the actual organization, right? And when you, as a player, you may have issues with management. I can't tell you how many times do you go into a workplace and everybody loves the boss? How many times does absolutely everybody, 110%, love their boss? Doesn't happen that way. Never is going to happen that way. So we're always having conversations about this player doesn't like Jose Mourinho doesn't like this player, this, that, and the other. Look, man, I'm going to work with people I don't like. That's just going to happen. But what's happening at Manchester United is people are not capable of saying, this person doesn't like me, that person, blah, 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 opinions, BS, chatter. But on Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever you show up for the league, whenever you show up for Champions League, whenever you show up for the FA Cup or whatever competition you're in, you need to put all that behind you and say, today, I want to look good because I'm getting my paycheck. Today, I want to look good because I'm representing one of the biggest sporting brands in the entire world. Manchester United is one of the, I was telling this to somebody. It's one of the 5 teams you get introduced to when you start talking about world football with somebody. Barcelona always. I'm not going to distract myself, but Barcelona always gets brought up, and Manchester United always gets brought up. We can argue about who is in the rest of this conversation, but you have to talk about Barcelona and you have to talk about Manchester United. And so for them to be having all of these different little personnel problems, for them to be having all these different tiny little conversations, and then they go out and until yesterday you can't even get results. People are too focused on what everybody else is doing. That's a bad look, and that's why everybody's like, it doesn't start with Jose Mourinho, and whether or not he gets fired, it's not going to matter. This needs to start at the very top, and everybody's going to have to change their perception on how they go about their day-to-day business and be like, okay, how do we go about our day today to make Manchester United the biggest club in the world again? Because it's not. Nobody takes them serious. I feel like Manchester United at this point is turning into a bit of a circus, and it's a bit of a joke. And they've been turned into basically something that you can kind of point and laugh at every single week and be like, win, lose, or draw, you're always going to have something strange happening. I don't necessarily think that that's good for the Premier League. I think if you want Manchester United to be taken serious, you've got to change some things in the front office, and you need to make sure that people are only talking about the results on the pitch. I don't want to hear about Woodward and the board getting into it with Jose Mourinho anymore. I don't want to hear about Jose Mourinho busting up with Paul Pogba or Valencia or bashing Luke Shaw, whatever. It's a circus, and I want, as a fan of the game, not as a Manchester City fan, but as a fan of the game, I want to get back to City, United, City. I want the Manchester Derby to be the biggest game in the Premier League again. I want them to be fighting it out, not necessarily for number 1 or number 2. I think it's really great that Liverpool is now in the conversation for winning league titles. But I want to see more than just. I want to see Manchester United do more than just try to finish in the top 4 or very weakly and very quietly finish in the top 2. Manchester United could be so much better. And as a Manchester City fan, yeah, I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, I think it's great that, my biggest rivals aren't doing that great. But does that mean I wanted to see them turn into a circus? No, not necessarily. No, I think it's a bad look for the game. I think that if you want to see a great product, Manchester United needs to be doing well, and not necessarily well in gossip. They need to be doing well in results on the pitch. So that's where I'm at with Manchester United. Hopefully, in genuine honesty, I want Manchester United to get it together. It's not going to be this season. This season's going to be a shit show. Pardon, but it's going to be a shit show until the end of the season. They'll got to figure out what they're doing with Jose Mourinho, because he's not going to stay on for a 4th year. I don't think he's ever stayed on for a 4th year at any of the jobs that he's had. Jose Mourinho, I don't think has ever had a 4th year. They're going to have to find a new manager. They need to hire a technical director. And I'm not saying they need to change owners, but Mr. Woodward, you have got to start making better decisions, because the fans, they're not going to abandon the club. They're going to abandon you. Manchester United will be there after Bob Woodward. It will be there after Jose Mourinho. Manchester United will be there after Paul Pogba, Luke Shaw, Valencia, Young, whoever else you want to name on that roster. Manchester United is bigger than all of them, and if you want Manchester United to be bigger than Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester City, whoever else you want to put into the conversation as a world power, Juventus, Bayern Munich, do what you got to do, but it can't be the circus that you've got going on.
All right.
Actually, there is another serious note I need to touch on while we're here. It is not going to take as long. I'm sorry. I know we're starting to run over time. Cristiano Ronaldo, has been not indicted, but a civil suit has been filed against Cristiano Ronaldo, alleging that he sexually assaulted a woman in a Las Vegas nightclub or hotel room. I don't remember that particular detail. In 2009, there's footage of him being seen with this particular lady that night. Look here. America is going through some very strange things right now when it comes to politics, when it comes to consent, when it comes to what is and what can be done to prevent sexual assault. Because what we're starting to understand is as a society, we don't understand consent. Therefore, as a society, we do not understand when we are overstepping boundaries that do not need to be stepped on. Ronaldo currently is losing endorsement deals. He has been taken off of all of the promotional material for FIFA 19. The club, his current club, Juventus, have come out and said that they do support him and are awaiting further information. Cristiano Ronaldo has stated that he will cooperate fully with any and all investigations, and that he does not believe that he is guilty of a crime and will await any and all outcomes for these investigations. I'm not actually going to comment one way or the other. I have always said that I have always thought Lionel Messi was a better player than Cristiano Ronaldo, but here's where I have to draw the line. Everybody is allowed to have that conversation, but I don't want to have it if he is guilty of this. I don't. This is something that we cannot, as a society, continue to defend. This is not something that we, as a society, can continue to brush under the rug. This is, as he said himself, a violent and abominable crime. So I will await any and all investigations. I will await for all of their findings. In all honesty, I do hope that Cristiano Ronaldo is found innocent of these charges. Not necessarily because I want to uphold this image of who he is and what he's accomplished and this, that, and the other. I want to believe in a world where a man like Cristiano Ronaldo, who already has everything, doesn't feel the need to do this to another human being. I will await all of these particular findings myself. I won't be talking too much about Cristiano Ronaldo, particularly by name. I won't be talking too much about Juventus, particularly by name, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that situation. It is something that is definitely happening. I remember I read the headline and I didn't even know it was about him initially. Like I said, this is just something that we've got to stop defending as a society. We can't let people do this and then continue to tout themselves as decent people, because this is not something that decent people do to other human beings. This is not a crime that you can commit and defend in any way, shape, or form. There's no logical reason for you to do anything like this to another person. Men and our society, especially men in our society, but everybody needs to have a very long and hard conversation about what consent is. And everybody needs to look their partner in the eye and be like, this is when I'm happy to be touched, and this is when I am not. Please, let's all go back to kindergarten. Let's all stop touching people when they are not in a position to be touched. If it is not yours, and my body belongs to nobody else. If it ain't yours, don't touch it. I don't know why we still have to explain this to grown men. I don't know if we have to explain this to Supreme Court nominees. I don't know why we have to explain this at all. People. Let's respect each other as people. Whether you agree with me politically, ideology, whatever, whether you actually agree with me or not, I think everybody deserves the right to say, I don't want to be touched today. But I'm not here to get into this long-winded conversation about consent. Thank you so much for going on this little journey with me today. Jose Mourinho, please find another job, because you're running Manchester United into the ground. Cristiano Ronaldo, I want to believe you. I will believe. There are too many cases where people walk away from accusations like this and they're actually guilty of it and they walk away from it. So, Cristiano Ronaldo, I want to believe you. You are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. So, therefore, in this moment, you are innocent. I am wary of you. Sorry, that was a very long and very deep slog through the mind of Tuesday.
I will say one thing, that Ronaldo did himself no favors by calling out a magazine printing the allegations as fake news.
I didn't appreciate that. I did some research. Apparently, that particular magazine is a bit of a tabloid, It's a bit of a German. It's a bit of a German National Enquirer. But you know how every once in a while you just stumble across something and it happens to be true. They stumbled across something that happened to be true and reported it before it even got reported here in America. So I don't know I don't know who uncovered that story, but they got a raise.
Yeah.
I don't know who uncovered that story, but man, they definitely earned their paycheck that day. That's investigative journalism.
In 2010, the person in question reportedly reached an out-of-court settlement with Ronaldo involving $375,000 payment for agreeing to never go public with the allegations.
I don't know. Because the reason why everybody wants to jump on this and believe this is because we've already established that Ronaldo has paid women to have his children and to not have these particular women in his children's life. The first lady, Cristiano Jr., doesn't know his mother, and he has surrogate twins who don't know their mother. Because he had a girlfriend at the time, but that particular woman was never pregnant. So Ronaldo has 3 children who don't know their mothers. I'm not saying that that's like an awful thing. Like, let's understand that Ronaldo is he's worth, I think I looked it up, it's like 300 million or something like that. Like, his kids are taken care of. They're definitely well taken care of. And in that regard, I can't say too much about him. But he does have a history of paying people to stay silent. And if you're gonna, and these are different situations, obviously. These are very different situations. But it has happened before. This is a behavior that he has exhibited before. So it would only be natural to assume that he'd be willing to pay somebody to keep quiet about this as well. I'm not saying it's true or not. Because I don't know. And like I said, I will, like Ronaldo, wait for all these investigations because I know that I just said, like, I can't defend this. At the very least, Cristiano Ronaldo is willing to say, I will participate and help with any and all investigations. We can at least appreciate it when somebody is willing to work to clear their name. When somebody is willing to say, investigate me. When somebody is willing to say, dig up whatever you have to dig up, because he'd like for his name to be clear. Because he firmly believes that whatever you find will not match what he's being accused of. With that in mind, like I said, just gonna take our time. The story's gonna come out. It's gonna be whatever it is gonna be. Like I said, it's a civil suit, not a criminal lawsuit. So this is going to be very strange.
This one now is criminal.
Is there a criminal investigation?
The Las Vegas police announced they are investigating.
They are launching a criminal investigation. Okay. Yes. No. Okay.
The one back in 2010 was civil.
Okay. So there's separate cases then.
The one in 2010 was a civil.
Because I've only read about the civil one.
Yes.
No. I heard that she filed a civil lawsuit recently against Cristiano Ronaldo. That's where I'm at. It's cool. Here, we'll dig all that stuff up off the air. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll talk. All right. So, we are just about out of time. Thank you, Tuesday, for sports talk. Thought I had something more.
I thought I had something cooler than sports talk.
I did just want to, real quick, way too early basketball prediction for who's going to win the East. 5 seconds on the clock.
What?
5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Boston.
All right, Boston.
I'll just say Boston just because I can't bet against Kyrie.
Gordon Hayward, baby.
Exactly. That's one of the best I'm sorry, but that already on paper is one of the best backcourts in the league. Yeah. Like, we might as well bet for it. But yeah, I'll say early Cleveland versus Golden State.
You said Cleveland?
Not Cleveland. I'm sorry. I'm definitely thinking. I'm definitely
Cleveland on the mind.
I'm sorry. I am looking at Kyrie Irving in my head, and I just say Cleveland. Boston versus Golden State.
Golden State. Oh my gosh.
Do you really think that
Houston,
LeBron is going to get past them?
Houston can get past them. I think Houston can get past them.
Okay. So I'm just not about to listen to people argue that LeBron's going to do it.
If they have a mid-season trade for somebody that is really good, Kawhi Leonard, watch.
If Kawhi decides he doesn't want to stay,
can get traded, or Kevin Durant.
If he decides he actually wants to trade,
Kevin Durant. They say Houston Rockets start out like 30-0, and Kevin Durant's like, man, they're looking pretty good.
They're looking pretty good over there. Hey man, you guys need some draft picks, right? Come on. Nah. Oh, by the way, I really wanted to talk about this because I wrote it down and it happened, NBA related. Colin Cowherd said, and this is a direct quote, this is on his show. He said if LeBron James wins a title in Los Angeles as a Laker, he will be more dominant as a basketball player and his legacy will look better as a basketball player than Michael Jordan.
It's because Michael Jordan didn't win it with the Wizards.
No. That's literally what it is.
Oh, it is.
He was like, because Michael switched teams and it didn't work. And I'm like, Michael was 40. Okay, Michael was already 40 by the time he come to the Wizards. He had tried to quit and he had come back, so that argument's already invalid. But he was like, if LeBron wins 3 titles in 3 different teams and is their best player every time, then it looks better than the Michael Jordan and the Bulls organization building one winning dynasty with just Michael Jordan as their major piece. And I said no. I'd
say if he can stay with the Lakers until he's in his late 30s, like Michael age.
If you give him 8
sense.
years, he's gonna win a championship.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you give LeBron 8 years in Los Angeles, Golden State's breaking up after this season. Like, people are gonna start looking for contract. Like, James Harden's gonna have to get paid again soon. You know, Anthony Davis is gonna have to get paid again soon. He's gonna probably go to a different team. Kawhi's gonna be looking for another team. Lillard's gonna be looking for another team. Portland's gonna probably have to change its roster.
Captain America's dead. No, I'm just kidding.
He did
Spoilers.
quit that movie though.
Right.
But anyway, I just seen that Colin Cowherd said that, and I was like, man, I like Colin. He's somebody I look up to in this industry. Somebody I look to emulate in a lot of different ways, bruh. There's no way that Michael Jordan's legacy is ever going to be less than LeBron James for one reason and one reason only. Michael Jordan played for the same franchise his entire career. How many times does a franchise trust a player enough that they'll build a team around him? And how many times is a franchise player going to stick around and say, I'm going to wait for my organization to figure it out rather than go somewhere else, take my talents to South Beach, this, that, and the other? Like, Reggie Miller sat here in this town for 18 years, one of the best three-point shooters in the game. But we don't put him in the greatest all-time conversation. Does that mean anything less to Reggie Miller? No, he knows what he accomplished as a player. You're not going to be quantified by just championships. Like, sure, if you want to be the greatest of all time, you want to be remembered by everybody. Yeah, sure, fine, whatever. Go win championships. But I tell you what, I will pick Reggie Miller before I pick LeBron James on my team. I will, out of being a team player, out of loyalty for the organization. Oh, and by the way, Reggie Miller's not afraid to take a clutch shot. Kyrie still made that shot. I don't care what nobody's saying.
Ray Allen still made a shot.
Ray Allen still made that shot. Let's be honest with ourselves. Michael Jordan was willing to take game-winning shots and make them. LeBron James does not.
LeBron has made a few game-winning shots.
But that doesn't mean he's the guy you want to look for. At this point in his career, is he the guy to take the shot every single time? Because Kobe was by this point. Michael was by this point.
Well, LeBron's more like Shaquille O'Neal.
No. He's Scottie Pippen. He's Scottie Pippen with 30 points instead of 12. Or however many. That's disrespectful to Scottie Pippen. I don't know how many points Scottie Pippen actually averaged over the course of his career. So I'm sorry, Scottie Pippen. That's no shade, but I'm just saying. LeBron James is Scottie Pippen with a better shooting touch rather than comparing him to Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen was the Swiss Army knife of the Chicago Bulls. LeBron James is the Swiss Army knife. He just gets 30 points a game if he really wants to. And let's be honest with ourselves, LeBron probably, if he applied himself, he could get 50 every single night. He could play like Kobe if he really wanted to. He's just a different player.
Yeah.
He's a different player, and we're always having these weird arguments about him. I'm sorry, but he's not a better player than MJ, in my opinion. I still think Michael Jordan still plays better defense, and I don't think his legacy is going to be better than Michael Jordan's because Jordan did not have to switch teams to win 6 championships. He waited. He waited for all the pieces to come through. He had one of the best coaches in the game, and everything came together for him perfectly. Yeah. But he was willing to exist inside of that system. LeBron James, if LeBron's not the number one guy and you don't make him feel like he's the number one guy every time, he'll disappear. If Michael Jordan had a bad night, screw it. Steve Kerr made 6 threes. Screw it. Tony Kukoc is out here blowing it up. Screw it. Ron Harper's out here getting assists.
Michael didn't have to wait 5 years for his team to...
Yeah, he did. Michael Jordan
the 92 Bulls were really good.
Yeah,
but he came in 80
in the league in what, 84?
Oh wow, okay. I thought he was
Michael Jordan.
88.
Michael Jordan was I'm reading a biography by him. By the way, I need to actually go dig this book up so that I can actually tell people what it is. But this dude started with his grandfather. This dude started by telling the story of his father and his grandfather and where his whole family comes in. I am halfway through that book and I am barely into his playing career. This book is fantastic. But yeah, he waited a few years to get his championships. That's why I feel a certain way about LeBron James. Because LeBron James left at the time where Michael started winning. LeBron left. Now, granted, again,
he did make it to that championship game.
The one where he got swept by Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich, one of the best coaches in the game. Yeah. LeBron didn't. Now, I will concede that LeBron does not have the same organization. He doesn't have Phil Jackson. Okay. Yeah. He doesn't have the buses as an owner. Even though he didn't really get along with either of the owners. So the relationship between LBJ and Dan Gilbert really ain't that different. LeBron didn't have the same advantages from a coaching standpoint and from a team recruiting standpoint, but Chicago wasn't a place to go until Michael made it a place to go. The same way Cleveland wasn't a place to go until LeBron got there. We can have this conversation all we want. I like LeBron. He's a couple notches below. I'm sorry, another 10-minute space. Based on
all right. Well,
Michael debate.
We're gonna have to cut it off there.
Thank you so much. This has been another episode of the Indoorfins. That's Ethan.
That's Tuesday.
Please feel free to follow us on all social media. We are the Indoorfins Podcast at Real Endorphins on Twitter, the Indoorfins Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and my personal favorite, YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Please sign up for our Patreon.
Yep, at the Indoorfins Podcast. Make a donation, $1 a month, $2 a month. You'll get a shout out on our podcast.
And you'll be helping us get better equipment so that we can continue to bring you fresh, quality content.
And possibly even a new platform.
Ooh.
Okay. Thank you very much.
See you next time. Thank you very much.
Bye.